Alright guys, I'm here to warn you about a very dangerous man. His name is Douglas Murray. He is getting on the whole conservative grift. Now, he doesn't call himself conservative, but he speaks out against Islam and mass immigration and so on. So a lot of conservatives follow this guy. He's also gay, so he's trying to jump on this small niche of gay conservatives. And he doesn't describe himself as conservative, but his views kind of align with a lot of views that conservatives have. So a lot of conservatives like this guy, but I'm here to warn you that this guy could ruin your life. This guy could actually have you killed, and I'm going to get into that in a few minutes. So do not listen to this guy, Douglas Murray. He's incredibly dangerous. He's an author, he's a commentator, and he just sits in his office writing books all day, and he gets involved with think tanks and just appears on news shows and stuff, giving his takes and various stuff. Now, he's very anti-woke. Now, I agree with some of his views and the whole anti-woke brigade and what's going on there, but I'm here to warn you that he's kind of on the wrong track with a lot of his views, and you'll see in a minute why he's so dangerous and why people should be very careful as to what he's saying and what he's advising people to do. So Douglas Murray appeared on Sky News Australia. Now, Sky News Australia, they're very anti-woke and they do a lot of good work, but I want to call out this interview here because this is kind of crazy. Now, this video is about a recent attack that happened on the New York subway. It was recorded. Now, there was another attack on an Asian guy. We'll get into that as well. So this clip shows the two video recordings on the New York subway. So I'm going to play this video and I'm going to pause it and give my commentary as to what's going on. So let's have a look.
Best-selling author and one of the most sought-after opinion leaders in the...
Did you hear that? Most sought-after opinion leaders. He's an opinion leader. He just gives his opinions and he doesn't really do anything except just talk. And we're going to see him talking here, talking a lot of nonsense. And it's really dangerous stuff that could get you into trouble.
The world, Douglas Murray. Douglas, let's start in New York where you live. I want to play...
So Douglas Murray lives in New York. I didn't know that. He is British, but I guess he lives in New York now.
You some footage from the subway. First bit of footage, we're seeing two men assaulting an Asian man, absolutely just disgusting levels of violence. And then we've got a thug assaulting a terrified woman in front.
Okay, so this video shows two black guys assaulting an Asian guy. So you know the whole stop Asian hate. Now, if you look at the statistics, you'll see that most of the assaults on Asian people in America is committed by black people, but the mainstream media wants to have you believe that it's, you know, white supremacy, but this just demonstrates what the majority of these crimes are. It's black thugs from the ghetto beating up on innocent Asian people. Now we're going to move on to the video of a woman getting assaulted. So
of a train where there's quite enough.
Okay, so we're going to see this black guy here, and you can see his hand pulling down on this woman's hair right here.
Number of able-bodied men. And
we can see that he just dragged her to the seat by the hair.
Around, but in both clips, no one steps in to help. We know crime has skyrocketed.
And she's there pleading. Look at the look in her face there. She looks terrified. She looks in pain, and she's begging to be helped. Now there's a guy standing here.
In New York, but what I find...
And there was other guys in the video as well. But I want to focus on what Douglas Murray's take is on this.
Just as disturbing is the lack of good Samaritans. Where have all the real men gone, Douglas?
Okay, so she sets it up. She says the lack of good Samaritans. So she wants to know, why didn't nobody intervene in this, especially the men?
You're absolutely right, Rita. I mean, it's really shocking that you see, you know, this distressed woman, for instance, on the subway, or this Asian man just being assaulted. And people seem to think that the best they can do as citizens is to record it on their mobile phone.
So he's saying that all they're doing is recording it on their mobile phone, and that's it. And that's not good enough. Douglas Murray wants you to go in there and start a fight with this crazy loon who's pulling a woman by the hair. Now, obviously, it sucks that this woman, you see her, she's in distress, but he wants you to go in, start a fight, and especially if you're a white man, if you're recording video attacking a black man, then guess what's going to happen?
And then upload it to Instagram or something. I mean, you know, as you say, not just what happened to the Good Samaritans, but what happened to the men?
What happened to the men? He wants to know why men aren't intervening. Forget about the women intervening and helping another woman. He wants the men to go in there and to attack this other guy. And guess what's going to happen, dude? The guy, the Good Samaritan, he's the one who's going to be up on assault charges. And if he's white and he intervenes and stops a black man from assaulting a woman, well, we know what's going to happen. The woke mob is going to go after him. They're going to dox him. They're going to tell everybody where he lives. And this guy could be in huge trouble, not just with the law, but with these mobsters who are going to attack him, go to his home, and we've seen what happens.
I mean, in that carriage, where the man pulls the woman down by her hair, she's clearly in deep terror and distress, clearly terrified and crying out for help. And, you know, there are men in the carriage there. I suspect, like everyone, they've seen stories and read stories of people intervening with somebody and, you know, being knifed or shot. But does that mean...
So he's saying that there's men in the carriage, and so he's insinuating that they should have done something. Now, there's a guy here. He's just sitting there trying to ignore it. He's saying that this guy and this guy here standing, they should have stopped this guy from pulling this woman by the hair. Now what's going to happen? This guy, he looks like he might be white here in the background. What would happen if this white guy started attacking this black guy? And then the video goes out and it's a completely different video to the one that did go out. And all of a sudden we're going to see a white guy attacking a black guy. And people are going to be taking it out of context saying this white guy, he's a white supremacist and he's assaulting this innocent black guy. That's what's going to happen.
That no man should ever intervene, no citizen should ever intervene. You know, the guys in this carriage, as far as I can see, you know, just sort of either watched on or stared into their devices and just hoped it would sort of go away. But you know...
Yeah, so they're staring into the devices, hoping it'll go away. Well, guess what, dude? They don't want to screw up their own life. They don't want to be charged with assault. They don't want the woke mob going after them, doxing them, going after their family. You know what? This guy, he wants to get you in trouble. Douglas Murray wants you to try and play the hero and put your own life at risk.
This is, Rita, this is actually, there's a sort of deeper point to this. It's just not just a breakdown in law and order. It's also the breakdown.
So he actually mentioned the breakdown in law of order. Well, he's right about that. But he doesn't seem to get that if a guy tries to intervene there, that guy, the Good Samaritan, he's the one who's going to be facing law and order.
Of masculinity, because, you know, we've had so many years of the radical left and others saying, you know, toxic masculinity. Well, you know, there's good masculinity, and they never talk about that. And they've demoralized so many people. They've persuaded people that basically masculinity is a bad thing. No.
So he's trying to say this is a bigger thing about masculinity, and that's a fair point, but we're talking about this actual incident here. These people in New York, they vote heavily Democrat, and we've seen Democrats behave appallingly. They're race baiters. They're trying to push the whole white supremacy narrative, and black people are victims. And here we see a black perpetrator on a woman. The woman is not black. She looks like she might be white or maybe Hispanic. This guy is saying that you should go in there as a man and stop this black guy. Whether you're a white guy or another black guy or Hispanic, whatever. If you're a man, you're obligated, he's saying, to go in there and save this damsel in distress. Well, it's not that easy, especially in New York City, where they're so woke that they will go after a person trying to do the right thing. That's how it works now in liberal cities like New York City.
There are times you need it. There are times you really need it. And there are times that people should show it. And when a woman is...
So there are times when you should show, you know, masculinity and so on. I agree with that. But that was not the time on that subway, in that incident. Because you had that person recording the video. And if that white guy had come along and neutralized that black guy, then guess what? He would be the racist. We saw this with Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse, he shot two other white men trying to defend an Indian store, and look what happened to him. He got branded as a white supremacist, and it was an absolute nightmare. So what happened if it's on video, a white man stopping a black man and, you know, holding him down or getting into a fight with him? You know what's going to happen, and this guy should know better. Douglas Murray, he's a dangerous individual. He's giving terrible advice. And this guy is, you know, telling other people what they should be doing.
Being assaulted on a carriage, if there's a bunch of men and they just stand by, that's just, you know, demasculinized people. And it.
Now, I disagree with that. He's saying that because the men stood there, they're demasculinized. No, they're smart. They know that if they intervene, they could be in huge trouble, especially given it's liberal New York City. It's not that they're demasculinized, it's that they're doing what's right for them, they're doing what's right for their wife and kids, their family, their own life. They don't want to be in prison. They don't want to be stuck with getting charged by the police and having to spend tons of money on a lawyer to try and defend themselves. This is crazy. The New York State or the New York City prosecution will go after that person and try and prosecute him and put him in prison for assaulting a black guy. And they're going to call it a hate crime.
Oh, it is. And I think for women, it's particularly scary because that is something that I think most women would expect a man to do, to step in and to have that protective instinct.
So here's Rita saying, that the men should step up and save that woman who's being assaulted by a man. Well, Rita, this is liberal New York City, okay? This is a city where a guy trying to do the right thing, trying to apprehend a black guy assaulting a woman, he's going to be the one landing in prison. Simple as that. Douglas Murray, your take on this is horrible. Rita, you're just as bad. Now, I want to look at some of the comments to this. If a real man stood up and did something, he would be sitting in jail right now. Exactly. So this guy says here in the UK, you can quite easily find yourself in court trying to justify beating up a burglar if the burglar says he was actually leaving your property. So there you go. Sometimes the law favors the criminal. Here we go. The men are tired of being dragged into a courtroom over fickle women. A man steps in now and in half an hour the woman decides that she didn't need any help and the hero is looking at an assault charge for the intervention. People of either sex just cannot be trusted in situations like this. Strong, independent woman, you go, girl. You can do anything that a man can do. Why should a man jump in? The world has been telling us we're crap and too aggressive. Women have asked for this new world. Well, now you got it. So, in a world that killed chivalry 30 years ago because women didn't like it anymore, well, sucks to be you. There is zero upside to helping a woman stranger today, and we've all heard the downsides. Nevertheless, this is disgusting. Not one woman stepped up to help her. You go, girls. Kick ass. Sorry for the grave cynicism, but our society and all its fine principles died years ago due to the extremist feminist movement. And that's another fair point. These women are saying they're strong, they're tough, they can do anything a man can do. And here's Rita on Sky News saying that a man should come in and help a woman. Sorry, but repeating emasculated and crying, "Where are the men?" is not going to get chivalry back. Society simply does not deserve chivalry anymore, and until it starts to deserve it again, why would men interfere? And here we go. It seems to me that men don't want criminal charges brought against them by the corrupt criminal justice system. And that's exactly right. The New York state and city justice system is totally corrupt. There was a cop that was assaulted by this black thug in a Black Lives Matter protest. The police officer was hit over the head, and the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, didn't charge the black guy for assault. And this was on a pretty high-ranking police officer. So that'll just show you how absolutely corrupt and rotten the criminal justice system is in New York State. So why would some random guy on a subway try and intervene there? There's also the fear of intervening and later being arrested, be accused of racism, or get annoyed by the police, like we have seen in the past. By the way, aren't women independent and strong? God forbid if our toxic macho masculinity can be handy at extreme times. So again, this guy is pointing out what a lot of other people are saying. This guy, he could be accused of racism, he could be charged with assault. Then he makes the point about the strong, independent women. Why should a man step up? And here's another really good comment. The sad thing is that the same Muppet that is filming the assault would also film you helping her, and next thing you know, you are doing time. Society made the rules that prevent people from helping, while women told us that we are all toxic males, and now you shame us for not jumping in. Shake my head. You can't have it both ways. Now, I wouldn't call the guy who filmed it a Muppet. I think the person who filmed it could have been a woman. They did the right thing. Now, they can show the footage to the police, and then the police, will they do their job? Will they arrest the guy? Now, the police, they could do their job. They could find this guy out and arrest him. But guess what? The justice system might leave this guy off. They might say, oh, well, what he did wasn't bad enough to charge him, and we're going to let him off. This is what happens every single day in cities like New York. You have people who get arrested and then they're not charged and they're let out the same day. That's how it is in New York City. Crime is going through the roof in New York City. Progressive New York woman, she literally asked for this with her politics. What's the issue? Now I'll get into this in a minute. I'll look at voting in New York City. And here's another really good observation. The first thing that caught my eye was the victim refused to help herself. This is a big problem because people depend on others to save them, and by then it can be too late. We are our own first responders. Now this is a good point because the woman, she just sat there, her hands were free, and she just stood there and allowed the guy to pull her hair without trying to fight back. I mean, she could have turned around and started punching the guy. Then the guy may have beaten the crap out of her, so maybe she did the right thing, but this is an interesting observation because he's right in saying that she just didn't fight back. Now that might actually have ended up being the right move because the guy could have absolutely punched her lights out if she had fought him back. So let's look at this article from the New York Post. Man shot and killed in New York City subway in random broad daylight attack, cops say. So this was May 22nd. A deranged gunman shot and killed 48-year-old Goldman Sachs employee without provocation on Sunday while the strap hanger was riding a Manhattan subway train to brunch, cops said. These crimes are going through the roof in New York subways. We had a guy killed, and there's been so many assaults on the subway in the last couple of years. So what's going on in New York? Well, law and order is breaking down. It's run by Democrats, and the Democrats don't believe in law and order. They believe in race baiting. They believe in victim carding. They believe in telling white people that they're the cause of all the problems. When he pulled into the Canal Street station, the gunman described as a dark-skinned, heavy-set man with beard. Dark-skinned. They can't even say the guy was black anymore. Dark-skinned. Unbelievable. So one comment, as we saw a couple minutes ago, I mentioned politics. So let's see how New York City voted in the 2020 presidential election. We had Biden of the Democrats, Trump of the Republicans. So let's look at the 5 boroughs of New York. So we have the Bronx. Here we can see a whopping 83.5% voted for Biden. In New York County, which is Manhattan, almost 87% voted for Biden. In Queens, it was 72% Biden. And in Brooklyn, which is Kings County, Biden got 77%. And in Staten Island, which is Richmond County, Trump actually beat Biden. So 4 out of the 5 boroughs voted overwhelmingly for Biden and the Democrats. And these are the 4 boroughs that have the subway system. Interestingly, Staten Island is the one county in New York City that doesn't have the subway. And they were the only county that voted for Trump. So that's an interesting little stat there. So all these subway riders in the 4 boroughs that have the subway system, they all voted overwhelmingly for Biden and the Democrats. And the Democrats, they're a party of division, hatred, telling white people they suck, telling black people they're victims. And this is what we get. We get people on the subway, whether they're white or Hispanic or even other black people, they will not jump in and take down a black criminal because they're going to be accused of being racist. Their entire life ruined because of this incident. So there you go, guys. Do not listen to this guy, Douglas Murray. He tries to be the tough guy. He tries to be the hard man and tell other people what they should be doing, telling other guys that they're demasculated, that they're a bunch of pussies. When this guy just sits in his office writing books all day and giving his hot takes on news channels and so on. And he panders to conservatives. And this guy, he's really dangerous. Do not listen to this guy. He's a grifter and his takes could get you killed. Alright guys, send this video to as many people as you can, especially people who think this guy is totally awesome. He's not awesome. This guy is giving really terrible advice. Hit me up in the comment section and let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel. See you guys later.